Hi, this is Tony here from the Refinement Not Retirement podcast, where we say refine, don't retire. And in this episode, I'm asking the question, is BYD really a Tesla killer? So, for those who are regular listeners to Refinement Not Retirement, you'll know that we are electric driving enthusiasts. So I've been into electric cars for the best part of 7 years. When we made the significant, when I say we, I'm talking about Christine, my wife, and myself. Christine's not on the podcast with me today. She's off enjoying herself with her friend in the Cotswolds. But we made a significant life refinement, which was to switch from hybrid driving, which we'd been doing quite a bit of. We'd had a Lexus at that time, and we decided to switch to full electric driving, which was quite a major decision because we had nowhere to charge the car at our home or office. So we had to rely on public chargers because we lived in central London at that time, in Kensington. We really had to research carefully as to whether that was going to work. As it happened, it did work. But we now live in the beautiful Cotswolds, in a medieval village. Having made that was a huge life refinement moving out of London, which was caused, again, those of you who listen to us regularly will know this. That was caused by COVID hitting us and making us totally reevaluate our lives living in central London. But going back to the electric driving thing, which is what I want to talk about today, we made that switch, and having done so, I think like most people who make the switch, we'd never go back to driving an internal combustion engine vehicle. It's driving electric, from our perspective, is just so superior in so many ways. And since we made the switch when we lived in Kensington, we've owned several EVs. We started with a BMW i3. Then we moved to the Hyundai, or Hyundai, do they call it nowadays? Kona electric. Then we had a same brand, Hyundai. We had an Ioniq 5, but ultimately we settled on Teslas because the Tesla experience. Let me say that. Well, let me complete that sentence. The Tesla experience is just so far ahead of anything else that's on the market or has been up till now. But what I was going to say, the thought that I started there, was that I'm not one of these Tesla fanboys who rave about Teslas to the exclusion of every other consideration. And there are some things about dealing with Tesla as a company which I have found challenging. But on the whole, the experience has been really, really good. So it really wasn't until we became Tesla owners that we fully discovered all the joys of electric driving. We were sort of pushed more. I mean, it might sound a bit mad in that short amount of time. I'm sure it does sound a bit mad to you that we had so many electric cars. But at that time, we were running a business, and the huge tax advantages when you own your own business. If you go fully electric, even more advantages if you live in central London, as we did then, because there's the, what do you call it there, the congestion charge thingy, which you are exempt from, as well as being exempt from road car tax at the time. So having a company electric car was a no-brainer. Well, it still is a no-brainer, really, and a major motivator. But now that we no longer work, and that position changed just about a year ago. Obviously, when you lose your source of income and you're living on uh, what you've managed to put aside, you've got to start thinking about counting pennies a little bit. So we've been seriously questioning whether it's sensible to own two Teslas. So we have a Model 3, a Tesla Model 3, and its bigger brother, the Tesla Model Y. And the Tesla Model Y, which is really an obese version of the Tesla Model 3, the Y really stays in the garage more than 99% of the time. So that doesn't make any sense at all. Our thinking was that we would use it for long journeys, and we have done. If you go back and listen to our episode about the 2,000-mile road trip that we did, actually we took both cars, but we were in Christine and I were in the smaller one, the Tesla Model 3, and our son-in-law Brad drove the Tesla Model Y because he took his family, and they have, having young children, they have lots and lots of stuff, and the Tesla Model Y is huge in terms of storage. And so that worked very well for them, and that was a great experience. So do listen to that episode because I think you'll find it interesting. But in practice, other than that very rare occasion, we've not really been using the Tesla Y, and it's now in January it'll be 2 years old, and it's done about 5,000 miles. So that'll give you an indication of how little we use it. And 2,000 of that was just the recent French trip. So you can see why we've been questioning it. So we thought that we should start looking at perhaps reducing to one car. Well, we would certainly keep a Tesla. And recently, I think the Tesla Model 3 is the best car ever. It's a really, really well thought out, designed, highly spec'd in terms of tech, not perhaps in many other ways, but it's very, very well fitted out with every technical aid that you could possibly wish for, probably more than you could wish for. And it's just everything is made so easy for the driver. So we certainly wanted to keep our Tesla Model 3, but they've very recently bought out a upgraded version of the Tesla Model 3 called, I think, the Tesla Model 3 Highland. I'm not sure why it's called Highland. Refresh. So the refresh bit refers to the fact that it's been refreshed. And so there have been some improvements made, certainly to the look of the front of the vehicle, because the Tesla Model 3 has a sort of bit of an anodyne look at the front. Some people call it a bullfrog type look. It isn't the most attractive front on a car. They've certainly improved that. They've improved several other things, which I'm not going to go into here because that's not the purpose, really, of this podcast episode. I really want to talk about the question that I'm asking in the heading: is BYD really a Tesla killer? So, what is BYD? Well, BYD is a Chinese company that's actually, as I understand it, bigger than Tesla. It hasn't just been involved in electric cars. It's a major battery manufacturer. And in fact, as I understand it, Tesla uses batteries supplied by BYD. Don't know if that's still the case, but certainly has been. If not supplied, certainly they've had design input, I understand. They've made they've done batteries for all kinds of things, phone, all kinds of devices, and even trains, I understand. Uh, so BYD stands for Build Your Dreams. And they've made a big move into the EV world. They are the major EV provider in China, where they sell their cars very much more cheaply. But they've now launched into other global markets, including most recently the UK. And I've been saying that because I've been watching the car that they've been producing because of my interest in that area for um, years, and I've become increasingly impressed by what they've been producing. And we were thinking that Christine and I were thinking that perhaps what might be a good idea uh, is to look at these as an alternative, look at the BYD offerings as an alternative to Tesla. We were thinking actually that um, we might just have one car, reduced to one car, because we tend to go nearly everywhere together. But as I've mentioned, we are so sold on the Tesla Model 3 experience that we would want to stick with a Model 3. So we then thought, so recently we had an experience where we were going somewhere, needed to get somewhere, and we found that the car was telling us that we had to stop driving immediately and pull over to the side of the road because one of the tires was seriously low. We had a look at that tire, and there was a big nail in it, and we obviously had to do something about that. And the upshot of all that was that we needed to drive the car somewhere immediately. Well, we had to pump the tire up so that it was able to, because it appeared to be not too fast a puncture, and we thought we could get the whatever it was, 8 or 9 or 10 miles that we needed to get. But that experience really made us think that two cars is a very nice thing to have, because obviously one of us went in the Model 3, which needed the tire repair, and the other of us went in the Model Y, and without that, that would have been difficult. We would have had to rely on our neighbors, who are great, and I'm sure they would have had no problem. But it is nice to be able to deal with those sort of situations yourself, apart from the odd occasion where we want to go in different directions. So we thought that we would look at a BYD, see if BYD had anything that would act as a sort of local runaround that we could use for day-to-day driving around the villages, going shopping, Waitrose and Tesco's and whatnot. And we'd leave the Model 3 in the garage for long drives. And very recently, the BYD launched a small sort of crossover SUV type of thing. We like the idea of having a sort of mini SUV because of that raised up driving position, which as you get older, it's nicer not to have to scoot down, especially after playing pickleball, which is another passion of ours. So this little BYD really caught our eye. And you can see reviews. I'm not going to talk at great length about the car itself, because you can see so many reviews on YouTube about the BYD Dolphin, that you can do that at your leisure. But it really caught our eye, and we thought this could be a really good option as a little runaround for us, because in EV terms, it's a great price point. about the £30,000 mark. And it's very highly spec'd, like a Tesla. I mean, it, has intelligent cruise control and all sorts of gadgets that are really largely on a par with what the tech that Tesla provides. And it's a very interesting looking little car. Christine fell in love with the two-tone pink and coral version. Top end one has a lovely panoramic, glass roof, and also a built-in screen, which Tesla doesn't have on their panoramic roofs. So you don't get this huge heat gain or burning of your head. So those sort of features for a car at that price point are really amazing. So we've arranged to have a test drive. So we were going anyway in the direction of Birmingham to Tesla, because we wanted to look at the one I mentioned to you, the Highland, the Model 3 Highland. But we went first into the center of Birmingham to Stratstone, I think it's called, the name of the dealership, Stratstone BYD. I think they might be the first dealers, certainly in this area anyway, for BYD, because unlike Tesla, BYD have gone the traditional dealership network route for getting into the UK market. I don't know if they're doing that everywhere, but they're selling through dealers. More on that later. But they were very good in terms of responsiveness. Even sent us a personal video of showing the pink coral gray version that we expressed interest in, because they had one available there straight away. And they were very nice, very, very lovely people to deal with. So we went in yesterday to go for a test drive, and both went armed with our driving licenses, and we were excited to take a look at the Dolphin. Now, when we got there, we were looked after nicely, very promptly. They were clearly busy with inquiries from people. It was. I'll tell you one thing though. It was it was interesting, having been living it now out in the sticks as we do, going into a city. You really know. Oh God, we looked at each other and said, "Crikey, we're glad that we're not still doing this." So traffic gets heavier, driving gets more aggressive. One thing that I had noticed also is that as more and more people are getting electric cars now, because electric cars are so super fast, they have this tremendous immediate. You just touch the accelerator and you get an immediate surge of power. I've often thought, well, I wonder what it's going to be like when more and more people, especially these hotheads who drive like maniacs, when they get electric cars. I wonder what it's going to be like. And I started for the first time to get really a glimpse of that yesterday as I drove into Birmingham city centre. There was one guy. I mean, why is it always an Audi driver? My apologies to Audi drivers who are sensible, but there are a lot of them that are not. And there's this guy in an Audi electric car who was clearly not had it very long, and was sort of showing off its fantastic acceleration, which I must say I've been guilty of in the Tesla from time to time. But he was weaving in and out of the traffic and surging ahead. And I thought, oh, God, blimey, there's only one way that bloke's going to go. Meaning going to die. So that's one thing I just wanted to comment on, is that as we see more and more people getting electric cars, I think we're going to see, unfortunately, a lot more really crazy driving, because electric driving does come with this huge surge of power at your foot tip, as it were. So anyway, getting back to my story about the BYD Dolphin, immediately Christine saw it. She said, "I love this car. I've fallen in love with this car." And I thought we were probably going to be placing an order there and then. So the BYD Dolphin is cheap for a mini SUV, as I've mentioned, and with all the features that it has on it, it's really, really attractive. So we like the look of it. It looked good in the showroom. It looked good out in the um, daylight, and we were given, as it tends to be the case nowadays, they let you go on your own, which I like. So the two of us went. Christina decided, as a result of what I've mentioned about the driving in Birmingham, she had decided, even though she'd bought her driving license, and this was probably going to be the car that she used every day, or that would be her car really. She decided now, having seen the terrible traffic, the awful roadworks round the dealership there, that she was not going to drive. She was quite happy to sit beside me, and she loved the car, and obviously thought it was a good idea for us to experience actually driving it. And I'm very glad that we did that. I said to the guy, we won't be in the car driving for more than 15 minutes. Don't need a 2-hour drive, although he was happy to offer that. But I know after 15 minutes, well, for me, 15 minutes is enough. So I was very glad we did that because, well, the first thing that I noticed, and if you, dear listener, if you have experienced electric driving, you will probably be familiar with one pedal driving. So I'm so used to it now. I hate it when I get into an ICE car, which we recently had to do when we did our holiday for a month in Florida, because we hired a conventional ICE SUV over there. And I immediately noticed with this electric car that there was no one pedal driving, or nothing remotely like it. Because, well, let me explain in case you don't know what one pedal driving is. One pedal driving arises because you don't really, in a properly set up EV, I would put it that way, but in a properly configured EV, you don't really need to touch the brake very much at all. Why? Because as you lift your foot off the accelerator, the car uses its electric motor or motors to slow the car down the electric motors go into reverse. And what that does is two things. It slows the car down, but also that they are now sort of converted into generators, which are putting power back into the battery. So you're actually putting range back into the car as you brake, but you're not really braking. You're motor braking. So you're using the motors to brake, and that's generating power, which is going into the battery, called Regen, regenerative braking. So I straight away felt that there was no resistance. So I was sort of busy looking around, seeing if that was a setting, because often it's a setting in electric cars, so that if you're not used to it, if you're not used to one pedal driving, you can make it in most electric cars operate like a ICE car. So you don't get that effect. But then, of course, you're losing the range gain of regen. Well, eventually I did find what I thought was another setting. I was in standard, and there is one called high. More on that in a bit. The other thing that I noticed was that in the Tesla and all the other EVs that I have owned, yes, I'm sure that's right. In all of the others that we've owned, when you take your foot off the brake, if you're parked, and I don't mean in park, but I mean if you've stopped, let's say at a red traffic light, you've stopped, You don't have to apply a handbrake or anything. You can take your foot off the pedal and the car will hold in that position. A lot of ICE cars have that feature as well, which I really, really like. Wasn't there on this one. Uh, you take your foot, you press the start button, you take your foot off the brake, and it creeps forward rather quickly, actually. It creeps forward like an automatic car, conventional automatic car does. I don't like that. And again, I couldn't see I couldn't see a setting for that, which struck me as odd. So those were two things. Oh, there was a third thing though. The car was very sluggish for an electric car, very sluggish. Um, Now, I mean, obviously, I'm coming out of a Tesla Model 3 here, so one's got to make the mental adjustment. I shouldn't expect it to perform the same way, and I didn't expect it to perform the same way. But it doesn't. It really is underpowered. Because our first car, the BMW i3 I mentioned, it was a tiny little car. You will have seen them. I used to call ours our Lecky Bubble. Uh, but it was super fast. I mean, really powerful. It was great. This was nothing like that. I would describe the acceleration as, for in EV terms, as pathetic. So that wasn't great. When I got back to the showroom, I put these points to the very, very nice sales guy. And it was obvious from his reaction that he had kind of heard these things before. And he said, no, well, there is a high setting, he said, but it's nothing like one pedal driving, so don't even think about it. And yes, BYD wanted their cars to creep, so they were a bit more like auto or conventional auto cars. While we were there, we also saw the Seal. Now, the Seal, BYD Seal, has been described as a Tesla Model 3 killer, and well, it's gorgeous. I mean, the finish inside knocks spots off the inside finish of the Tesla Model 3, even the refreshed, upgraded version. But then there were a couple, and I was seriously, when I saw it, I thought, well, that's gorgeous. I really should think about this in comparison with the Tesla Model 3. But then there were a couple of points that I put to the sales guy, because by now I had sort of put the Dolphin out of my mind, and Christine also, did agree that the issues that I had raised might be a bother even for her. But I'm not sure why I said even for her there. But she was, I think she saw the rationale behind what I was saying. But the Seal was still, I thought, something I really should be, we really should be considering. Well, I then asked him about support. So meaning servicing, if anything goes wrong, anything under warranty, that sort of thing. And his answer really made my heart sink. We would have to bring the car back into Birmingham City because BYD don't have a network yet. And this is why I said I was going to come back to this point. They've decided to go the dealership route, presumably to get things going more economically and more quickly here in the UK. But really, I mean, you can't pay, because the Seal is about the same price as the Tesla Model 3. You can't pay that, we're talking about 50 grand plus. You can't pay that amount of money and not have proper premium service with it, which you do get with Tesla. So I think that's a big error on BYD's part, and also this idea of not having traditional EV features. I think it's because they think they're going to sell to like the Toyota market, where Toyota have really dropped the ball on electrification, and Toyota customers, who are wanting to move to electrification, they're coming off the sort of more coming from a conventional Toyota kind of a car, I think that BYD's thinking is, well, we'll give them something that gives them a soft landing into electric driving, so it won't have the resistance when you take your foot off the accelerator and that sort of thing. Well, I think that's a mistake, because I think they should first of all be attracting people like us who are already sold, completely sold on the idea of electric driving. So that was that was a sort of major problem. And also the dealership model is meaning that you have to pay for services, which really, I asked about the first service. They want to charge £200 for the first service on the Dolphin or something like that. They haven't really announced this yet, but I think that's a major mistake, frankly. So that was kind of a big disappointment there. But it really, as I say, on an electric car, you really don't need servicing. The Teslas don't need servicing. Things are dealt with under warranty. Um, very little has arisen under either of our cars in terms of warranty matters. I can't actually at the moment think of any, but I'm sure we've had something. But they've always been dealt with very efficiently. And the idea of having to go back into the center of Birmingham from where we are whenever there's a problem, and there will be things that need attention. There always are, in my experience. And you don't want to be put to that disadvantage. And Tesla has mobile rangers that come to your house. And so, as I say, the Seal is comparable price. Why would you give customers an inferior support network? And really, the sales guy was saying, well, yeah, that's just the way it is. You got to wait for the dealership network to be developed, and maybe there'll be one in Worcester one day. Well, great, maybe, but I'm interested in now. So anyway, so my conclusion here is that no way is BYD a Tesla killer. No way. And I haven't even talked about the fact, which is huge, that Tesla has a supercharging network. Listen to our episode, please, about our 2,000-mile journey in two Teslas across France when we had our family holiday recently. The supercharging network is phenomenal here in the UK and also throughout the continent. Phenomenal. None of these other companies have done anything about it. I mean, they've got some kind of half-baked deals with BP, Pulse, and Shell, Recharge, and all that sort of thing. But nothing comes close to what Tesla has built up. So, and as I say, I hadn't even mentioned that, had I? But once you add that into the mix, you can say there is no way that BYD, in its present form, is a Tesla killer. And for the same reasons, the Seal is not a Tesla Model 3 killer. No way, no how. That's my conclusion. I'd love to, oh, by the way, from there, we went to see the Tesla Model 3 refresh, the Highland version, at Tesla's facility in Solihull. And we weren't planning to do this, not at all, but we were coming off the BYD experience and realizing that Tesla is the real deal, the only game in town, really. We placed an order. So for the new one. So we will be selling the Tesla Model Y, and we will probably be settling on just having the one car, and we'll see how we get on with the one car when that comes. For the moment, of course, we've got the other one, the existing Tesla Model 3, which is great, and that will be it'll be great to see how we get on with one car. But if we can always keep the other one, I suppose. But it's daft to have two Model 3s, I think, and I wish there was something comparable that was inexpensive, which is what we were hoping for of the BYD Dolphin, that it would be good enough that we would be satisfied with it. But honestly, because there are so many other things that one can say. I mean, why do all these electric cars have on-off buttons? Tesla doesn't have an on-off button. It knows as soon as you get in the car that you're there. It knows your settings from your iPhone. You just get in and you just select drive and just go. Why do you need an on-off button? It's it's ridiculous. And you could say, well, they're much cheaper, but these cars are much cheaper. You must expect that. But they've done all the other things. They've got things like the Tesla app. They've got comparable, that sort of thing they've dealt with. So I don't understand why it's beyond the wit of man to realize that you don't need to have an on-off button. So just anyway, the one good thing that BYD has is that they do have over-the-air updates, which for me, so the car gets its software up whenever they upgrade the car in terms of its features. They can do that over the air via your Wi-Fi at home, which happens probably once a week, certainly twice a month on the Teslas. And BYD are also doing that, which was another big motivator there, that they had got that bit right, which lots of other manufacturers haven't. So anyway, that's it. You see, I hope you can understand my rationale for saying that I don't think anyway that BYD is anywhere near being a Tesla killer. I hope you found that informative and helpful if you're thinking about going EV, but I'd like to hear what you think about it. Do you think that BYD is a Tesla killer, as so many videos and articles seem to suggest that it might be? I don't think so, but I'd love to hear what you think. And do visit our Facebook page, Refinement Not Retirement. I'll put a picture of the Dolphin that Christine so loved up on there, so you can see those lovely colors. And we'll be continuing our Florida story very, very soon when I can get Christine back into the podcast mode. So thanks for listening. And until next time, it's goodbye from me and only me. Bye for now.